When I first got into street photography, I thought I just needed the right camera, the right settings, and everything would fall into place. But it didn't. I would come home after hours of working with hundreds of photos and none of them felt right. They looked amateur, small, empty, uninspired. At first, I blamed the gear. Maybe I needed a better lens, a faster camera, but deep down I knew the problem wasn't the gear. It was me. And looking back now, I can see exactly what was missing, what made my photos look amateur. And now, you're about to know, too.
You see, we often build up superficial excuses, forgetting that those who came before us achieved greatness with far less than what we have today. After many years of chasing photographs, I came to a major realization. Almost every reason why my photos looked amateur converged to one simple truth. I wasn't practicing enough. In the early days, with the naivety of someone just starting out, I believed a good shot would eventually find me if I just waited long enough. But photography isn't magic, it's a muscle. You have to train your eye by doing it over and over and over again. By missing shots, by failing and slowly without even realizing it at first, you start to see the world differently. Simply showing up even when the results were disappointing was what began to sharpen my instincts. There were times when taking thousands of bad photos felt overwhelming, discouraging even, but growth doesn't happen in leaps and bounds. It happens quietly, in the small efforts that feel almost invisible in the moment. Yet when those days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years, you suddenly realize you've been doing what you love for over a decade and everything has changed. True wisdom, I came to realize, lies in knowing what you don't know. When you're just starting out, you think you have it all figured out until you inevitably hit that humbling moment where you understand you have to start from the very beginning. That realization eventually pushed me to pursue the basics of composition, the simple foundational techniques that would teach me how to truly see. I learned about the rule of thirds, where you divide the frame into 3 parts and place your main subject along one of those lines, letting the supporting elements breathe across the rest of the image. I discovered the power of symmetry, the balance that draws the eye naturally, and I began to understand the importance of layering, building a photo with a foreground to set the scene, a midground where the main story unfolds, and a background to anchor everything in context. In the beginning, I wasn't composing at all. I was simply pointing the camera and hoping for the best. But once I started to absorb these basic principles, it felt like someone had handed me a pair of glasses after years of blurry vision. Suddenly, I could see the streets differently. I could organize the chaos into a frame that had structure, flow, and meaning. If you're enjoying this video so far, hit the like button and consider subscribing with the bell. Understanding composition opened my eyes to a misconception I had carried for far too long, the idea that the photo was simply a two-dimensional slice of reality. But the truth is, a photograph represents a three-dimensional world, and even on a thin sheet of photographic paper, that depth deserves to be respected. The answer to bringing that depth to life was simpler than I expected. It was all about creating a sense of space. In the beginning, all my photos looked flat and lifeless. Then I discovered shallow depth of field and the magic of out-of-focus backgrounds. I became obsessed. I believed that if I could blur the background enough, my photos would automatically look professional. My enthusiasm ran wild and I missed the bigger picture, quite literally. But shooting, even when done with misguided intentions, has healing properties. Practice has a way of correcting bad habits over time. I started to realize that sometimes the environment mattered as much as the subject. The story wasn't always isolated in a single person, it often lived in everything around them. Not everything needed to be blurred away. Sometimes embracing the word in the frame made the story stronger. I also learned that out-of-focus elements could belong not just to the background, but to the foreground as well. They could serve as a natural frame, guiding the viewer's eye and adding layers of meaning to the scene. Understanding when to isolate my subject and when to invite the environment into the story became a true turning point for my photography. As I continued learning to see through the eyes of a photographer, I realized that a bad photo often came down to one thing: a lack of a clear message. I used to believe that the more I packed into a frame, the better the photo would be. But all I was doing was creating noise, clutter that drowned out anything meaningful the photo was trying to say. Over time, I discovered that less can speak louder than more. A single quiet moment, a clean line, or a subtle detail often carried far more weight than a chaotic overloaded scene ever could. Embracing the power of minimalism taught me that simplicity isn't about emptiness, it's about clarity. It's about focus, and sometimes the strongest stories are the ones told with the fewest words. Learning to focus, to shut out the noise of the city's endless chaos taught me something important. The streets themselves can show you where to look. Lines on the pavement, arrows on the walls, even a shaft of light cutting through the darkness, they all act as subtle guides leading the eye towards the true subject of the story. It doesn't have to be loud or obvious. Sometimes the quietest signs are the ones that speak the clearest. And then there are the frames. The streets are filled with them if you know where to look. Doorways, windows, alleyways, or patches of light squeezed between buildings. Some frames are solid like a wall or an archway. Others are intangible, made entirely of shadow and light. These natural frames are like the storyteller's hand, gently leading the viewer into the world you've captured. They introduce the story, present it with just enough clarity, and leave a little space, just enough for the viewer to step inside and make it their own. But all of that knowledge meant nothing if I wasn't willing to put myself in the right spot. A photo doesn't frame itself. Sometimes the scene won't just unfold perfectly, you have to step in and shape it. And the biggest obstacle in my way wasn't technical skill, it was fear. Fear of getting too close, fear of rejection, fear of being seen. So I stayed back and everything I captured felt small, distant and lifeless. It wasn't until I found the courage to move closer, to truly immerse myself in the moment, that my images began to breathe with life. If you want your photos to make someone feel something, you have to feel it first. You have to be close enough for your heart to be part of the frame. It took time. It took countless failures. It took showing up day after day, even when it felt like I was standing still. But every mistake was a stepping stone, every missed shot a quiet lesson. Today, when I walk the streets with my camera, I'm not chasing perfection. I'm searching for light, for emotion, for the stories hidden in the ordinary. Photography, I've learned, isn't just about capturing what you see. It's about capturing what you feel. And now, every time I press the shutter, I know it was never the camera that needed change. It was me. Which of those struggles do you relate with the most? I would love to hear your own journey down in the comments. Now, if you want to continue your photographic journey through the 50mm focal length, click and watch this video next. That was all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I will see you on the streets. Bye bye.